Okay. Tonight, we're talking about fear as an instinctive survival tool. It's a little bit of a different way of thinking about it. And the purpose is to help us learn about using this tool. Okay, so it's a tool that helps us and in preparing for somatic trauma therapy work, it's going to help us out of shock. It's going to help us come out of shock and dissociation. That's the goal. So we want to be able to work with it and develop our relationship to it. Okay, so all of our emotions need attention at some point. Otherwise, the way I think of it is they end up kind of adding to our load, right? If an emotion shows up and it doesn't get the space that it needs to just run its course, then it doesn't really get processed, right? It just kind of stays backed up in the sort of like lake behind the dam that we've got. So, to begin, what is fear? This is an emotion that helps us survive by motivating us to respond to danger. By the way, this is a perspective that's been synthesized out of a whole bunch of different sources, and there's lots of different ways that you could say this. This is one way of presenting this perspective. So take from it what you will. So fear, we're saying, is an emotion that helps us survive by motivating us to respond to danger. It's wired in from birth. It's built in to protect us from things that could be dangerous. And if we didn't experience fear, we wouldn't have been able to stay safe as a species. Like as humankind, we probably wouldn't even be here right now if it wasn't for fear getting us to jump out of the way when things were dangerous. So when we are experiencing fear, we're being motivated. Our brain is telling us it's making decisions for us, right? It's making quick, automatic decisions about what to do to keep us away from danger. So if somebody comes running around the corner as a surprise, we might run from them without even knowing who it is. And you see this in some animals too. Some animals will freeze. They'll just drop to the ground and play dead, right? And these are behaviors that are motivated by fear. And they're instinctive. So here's a story. I was presenting to a group of elders a few months ago, and one of them had emphysema, and she had spent some time in the hospital, and she was pretty frail. So she had a walker and couldn't go more than a few steps without wheezing, and then she'd have to take a break. So the sense I'm trying to give of her is like she was physically not very mobile and not very quick. As I was speaking to this group of elders, she was facing me, and behind her on the wall, I saw a picture fall off of the wall. So from my perspective, zero danger. I saw a picture fall off the wall. She was facing away from it, so she didn't see it fall. All she got was this sudden loud bang right behind her. And she jumped up so fast. She was like a ninja. I couldn't believe how fast she got up. She was like an athlete. And this is the same person who can barely shuffle along and is wheezing, but that's what fear did. Instantly, she was motivated. She was going to jump out of her chair to get away from whatever was surprising her behind her, which is amazing. She couldn't have stopped doing it if she tried. Her body said, go, right? So that was motivated by fear. So what does that feel like when it's actually happening in our body? Fear causes our body to do many things. Our muscles get tight, ready for action, ready to run. Our heart rate increases instantly. Our breathing rate increases to get oxygen so that we can fuel the muscles so that our bodies can protect us, can run. Pupils dilate, they'll get bigger to let in more light so we can see better. All these things. And the thing is that the fear response, that physical charge that happens, that can be triggered when we're in actual danger. It can also be triggered just when we believe we're in danger. Like with the elder that jumped out of her chair. It can also be triggered even when we choose to do something that we know is not physically dangerous for us. Like say somebody who enjoys watching a horror movie, they'll still get the same things happening, right? Their body will tense, they'll get, sweaty palms, pupils dilate, breathing gets faster, and they know that there's not actually any present danger. So our body responds the same way in all of those instances. Isn't that interesting? We can choose to do something that would that's entertaining in a way, and our body still tells us this is dangerous, we need to protect. I'd like to pass it over to Leanne here to further illustrate this point. Leanne, do you mind?
Yeah, no, not at all. I find fear to be so fascinating because the more I learned about what it does in the body, the more I've been able to figure out my relationship to it, because I feel it often, or I have felt it often. So, if someone has a history of being traumatized, their brain can be kind of more likely to activate the fear response when there isn't any real danger. And one way, just an example that's kind of sort of, I think, sort of funny in how my body reacts. I went on a hike some years ago, actually in Ethiopia, to see these like caves and like church caves. And there was a steep edge, and I'm very afraid of heights. And we went around, and it was actually a cliff, and I was stuck there, and I went into freeze, like full on body shut down on this mountain. And it took me a long time to get down and to get over it. And now, if I see a picture, even, for example, of something that's a height, I can feel the fear response in my body. I'd like to give you an example of a picture that I can feel this in. So I'm gonna share my screen for a second, if that's okay. Can you guys see that picture? So when I look at this picture and I imagine sitting on that, I can feel my palms right now. My gaze is widened on the screen, and I can actually feel tingling in my gut, and the tingling, the butterflies in my stomach are the blood, actually your circulation, it shifts away from your digestive tract, because you don't need the blood there. That's not an essential organ, and it's actually going to my heart and my lungs, and I'm breathing a little bit faster. I know I'm not in danger right at this moment, but I feel a sense of fear in my body when I see this kind of picture. What can we do with that? Oops, let's just stop the share there. We don't want to dismiss the fear response, obviously, if there's actual danger happening. But for moments like this, where there's clearly no danger, there's a tool. Actually, Winchester first taught me about this tool. It's called the SUDS tool. And all it is really giving your fear rating from 0 to 10. So 0 is like, there's actually no fear here, or 10, oh my gosh, this is the worst fear I've ever had in my life. So when I look at that picture, I'm like, okay, it's 2, it's probably 1. And just by being able to look at that, I've paused, I've got curious, what is that number? I've kind of got clarity around, really the number isn't as high as I was starting to feel in my body. And that actually brings me calm. So, we talked about those 8 C's that bring us towards our core self. Just in using the SUDS tool to just kind of rate what that emotion is out of 10, find it very helpful. And you can use it with any emotion. You can use it with anger, fear, sadness, many different emotions. Yeah. Any questions or any questions? Anything you want to add to that one?
I don't have anything to add to that. I think we framed it nicely and have given hopefully a helpful tool that I hope everybody tries out. And it's like a skill that you can practice and get better at.
I feel like that SUDS tool is one, like, for emotions that shoot up very quickly. It's a little bit easier to tap into than, say, rain. Like, where rain, I have to, like, okay, I'm going to recognize it. Okay, now I'm going to allow it. Now I have to take these steps. And I find this one where you just get a quick rating is just oh, I'm a 3. Okay. It's just a bit of a quicker one for a big response for me.
Okay, sounds good. How's that, Leanne? We'll end that there. Yeah.